Evening folks, this is BestInSlot and welcome back to our Planet Zoo sandbox build. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. Right, I am. The Aarde Se Rand. It's like runt, something like that. People said it's pronounced quite similar to runt, so I'm assuming it's a slightly softer T. Anyways, we're back with our sandbox build. Today we're going to work on a Jeep entrance station for the central dome. We were going to do a train station instead, but I've decided to go for the Jeep because I think it is more thematically appropriate. I've got a pretty cool idea of how this is all going to tie together with the park at large. There's a couple of things I might need you guys to get involved with as well. We'll talk about those in the non-time-lapse part of the build. But basically, we're going to do quite a lot today. This is nearly, again, 3 hours worth of recording. And yeah, we're going to do the Jeep Dome, but we're also going to do a lot of other weird things as well. We're getting involved in quite a large part of the park right here, so let's see what happens. Now, we have decided to do another dome. I really liked the idea straight away of having a dome, a smaller dome attached to the main dome that kind of cuts off a little bit. You'll see what I mean. I know we've gone hard on the domes. It is kind of a theme. It's not going to be so prevalent throughout the entire park, but you know, because we're laying down our themes nice and early, I did want to make sure it was fairly obvious from the get-go. Now, because this was going to be, it's kind of a train station, but we're using Jeeps instead, essentially. I did want it to look vaguely like a train station. To be honest, it doesn't. But a lot of the things inside it are inspired by train stations. And I did use a lot of glass, especially in the roof section. Because A, it's nice to have a lot of light. But B, because, you know, train stations tend to have glass roofs anyway. Or open-end ones. It just depends on the train station. But there's always a lot of glass involved in the roof. Because they want lots of nice natural light in there. So just building, again, we're building the dome the same way we always do. Putting a little bit more detail in this time. You'll see me especially do more detail on the inside face of what will be the dome, essentially. It's like the other side of this wall. That's really important. I didn't do that on the big dome, the one you just see there on the right, and I actually really regret it because it's quite hard to detail because it's humongous if you don't do it initially, and it makes the walls look a little bit bare. Doing it on this one, I think the inside of this dome, I actually think this is a much better looking dome than the main one, and I love the main dome, so that's says quite a lot. And I think the inside detailing is quite a large part of that. I didn't exactly do much, but when you do little things on these domes that you're going to duplicate, these walls that you're going to duplicate God knows how many times, those changes kind of multiply multiple times. Does that make sense at all? Basically, those changes become much more important because they're being multiplied and they create interesting new patterns and stuff like that. Especially you'll see here with the wood. The wood is a great idea. The wood is going to do some really cool stuff for what our roof looks like a little bit later on. So we're just building the dome here. Obviously we're going to move it later on, but I just wanted to make it, set it up out in the middle of nowhere. There I'm just making sure the walls do fit into that gap without looking utterly bizarre, and it ends up looking pretty cool. You already get a good feeling for a little glimpse there of what the roof is going to look like. I love the roof. It is incredibly easy in this game. Big shout out to Planet Zoo and Frontier using stuff like this to just make really cool looking geometric shapes, and that's a big thing for this series. Also, playing with the light and the shadow is a big thing for this series, so using glass and then having these interesting geometric shapes on top of it is a really good combo for us, and definitely something we're going to lean into. There you go, there's a little preview. You'll get a better look later on, but I think it's really cool, and it took like no time at all. This is like 20 minutes worth of work, if not a little bit less. No, yeah, about 20 minutes. Just getting rid of some of those shields. I wanted them on there, but not absolutely everywhere. Had a little look at the top. I think each dome does look unique or individual, at least in some respect, which I think is fairly important. And here we're just going to try to match it right in the middle with the other dome. And then this bit was a little awkward. I wasn't looking forward to this. I did get it done, but I wasn't looking forward to it. We obviously need to clear out the part of the dome that intersects with our main dome. That bit's not the problem. This destroying bits, it takes a bit of time because it's each wall segment is a separate group. It's a bit of a pain. But the real problem is this. As you delete bits, the bits that are sort of halfway through the wall of the main dome and halfway through the wall of the secondary dome go missing, you know, because we're deleting bits. So you kind of have to go back in and rejig and remove from group and then slide things along. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, I'm not going to lie. But I think it's worth it for a fairly big and noticeable and pretty awesome looking effect at the end of the day. So hopefully you guys agree that it was all worth it. And there we go. Oh, no. Not there we go in the slightest. Shut up, BestInSlot. Gotta get rid of all this glass, all these lovely little sticks and a little bit more thatching, and then we're going to have to go back and fix the roof up a little bit. The roof was actually surprisingly easy to fix, though. More of these little bits. Honestly, none of this is difficult. It's finangly. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm doing a little... Basically, I look like a stupid lobster, and that's kind of what I mean. Does that make sense? Yeah, you get what I mean. The construction items in Planet Zoo, again, are, in my opinion, unnecessarily limited in how you can rotate them and stuff like that, and most of the construction items. So it does make things like this a kind of pain in the ass sometimes, but hey-ho, not a big deal. We got there in the end. Couldn't figure out what was going on with that wall. Give that a little rotate, slide that in there. We're looking good. Just need to fix the roof. There's some gaps of glass in there. Really just getting a little shard of glass and dragging that along. And honestly, you barely see the glass from underneath because the sticks kind of dominate the whole thing. But it does kind of come together in the end. There we go. So we need an entranceway for this, of course. There is a tour track going in. The idea, as of right now, is that basically this is how people enter the park. Now, in theory, this isn't actually how anyone enters the park, but it's going to look like that. So the exit for this Jeep is to the left and into the main dome. The entrance to it is on the right-hand side. I'll talk a little bit more about the plans for this later on in the non-time-lapse version, if I remember. But basically, the plan is for eventually for this to be a working track. And what will happen is people will get on it elsewhere, and that will look like the park exit. It'll take them away into the middle of the savannah, into the forest, down there at the side somewhere, and then the tour track will loop back round and come into the park, into that dome via this track right here. Okay, so it will be the same people exiting and leaving, but because you never see those people, and all the people look vaguely similar, it doesn't really matter. And what that should mean is, on a fairly regular basis, we have cars turning up and depositing guests into the park. It's going to look really cool. That will have to wait till later on, because that'll actually have to wait till near the end, because I need to do an entrance to the Jeep on the other side of the little dome, and then have like an exit section, like it's going to say park exit, blah 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 blah. You get onto the Jeep and you leave the park. In reality, they'll be coming back into the park, but that's neither here nor there. That's not what it will look like. And I think it's going to be a pretty cool little effect. Anyways, just like a train station, I wanted a elevated path, so that drops over the top, and this then leads on to the exit queue. So eventually this will connect, straight in front. We're going to remove that wall, and there'll be an exit over there, and you'll be able to walk through there, walk up into here, and exit via those Jeeps. But not yet. Took ages to figure out why I could not connect the path on the other side. It's because you do need to do a queue. The other side is the entrance, as I've said, and you do need to do a queue or it won't work. I did eventually figure it out. There it was. It took a long time, but that's all connected up now, and it looks a little bit like a train station, which was kind of the idea. I'm going to ruin that with lots of plant life and rocks and stuff, but for now it looks somewhat like a train station. One of my main problems, I'm actually really enjoying this build so far, having a great time with it, genuinely am. You're going to see a little bit of tabbing out and stuff here, I'm afraid, as I Google for inspiration. One of my problems is filling walls and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of space to fill already before we even get started on the outside. I've had a couple of pretty cool ideas, which we'll talk about, but there's still that one big wall that I have not yet filled, and I'd like some inspo for that, but we'll talk about that a little later on. So this is just going to be a departure board, sort of thing, nothing too complex, none of it that actually makes sense, as people have pointed out to me already. But basically, as you enter the park, you're getting off the Jeep, you walk past here, and this will tell you when your next Jeep is leaving. I just want to call them trains. Can I just call them trains? The Jeeps, let's call it a train. You'll get off, you'll look at the board, and you'll see, oh, if I want to go back to, in this case, London is one of the options, then I have to be here for 7 o'clock or something like that. So these are your leaving times when you have to leave the park, essentially. Does that make sense? Yeah. It is London and Paris and stuff like that, which is a little bit nonsensical, I'll be honest, but what are you going to do? The idea is, I guess, that it takes you to the airport. It takes you, it'll drop you off at your flight at that if you get on at the right time. Something like that. It doesn't really make sense, but I had fun with it, basically. So there's a little departure board. I am going to put some times and stuff on this. Just wanted to up the decoration, make it a little bit more interesting. The main reason I'm loving this is Africa, as I've said, in terms of theme items, just has seemingly so much more than basically the entire rest of the game put together. It's really good for it. So you can have a lot of fun just sticking random stuff together, and it kind of all looks thematically appropriate, and it all comes together and just looks really cool. I never want to stop. Never want to stop building in Africa. Anyways, so just doing our little thing here. Had to kind of screw around with where you put the gaps and where you put the text and stuff like that in order to try and make the text all the same size and stuff like that. So we're going to London, we're going to Paris. Kind of tempted by the idea of having multiple signs, I think is what I'm doing here, but realised pretty quickly that wasn't going to work. What I'd really like is like a really small one. That would be perfect, but we don't have that quite yet. And I didn't really want to faff around with the custom fonts that people have made. As amazingly impressive as those fonts are, and we will be using them a little later on. So London, Paris, and then of course the other major city in Europe, it's not even a city, it's a country, Kazakhstan, because I think I'm hilarious. Basically, I have to rejig the text on the Paris one a little bit. Yeah, again, just very, very simple. I'm not pretending this is anything fancy, but just kind of trying to sell that train station kind of vibe, you know? A little green button, that's just to tell you that that's going to be on time, you know, it's all go. If it goes red, that means maybe there's a delay or something like that. Leaving times, done. Right, time out, sort my music out. Let's put some doors on there, the idea being, of course, they close at night time. Obviously. And now for some rocks and stuff. Time to decorate with rocks and plants, as I always do. Whoops, squeaky. So we're going to fill this room, loads of decoration and stuff like that. I'm going to do a couple more signs. We're going to do some shops. We're going to do a ticket machine stall area. We're going to build a giant man out of wire. We're going to do some stuff. I don't know. It's a weird kind of time to build this because I'm working on this, but I'm also working on the inside. There's like several different aspects I was building all at one time, so none of it felt that directed, but I did really enjoy it. That was going to be a train station sign thing, you know, like you see with the station name on each side of it on this big white sign, but it just wasn't going to happen. Whilst we're here, big shout out to Ricey, who makes custom fonts for Planet Zoo by using like items but made tiny and like organized into fonts, so you can download these boards and they turn into fonts, and it is incredible stuff. I cannot begin to imagine how long they have to spend building these things. They are incredibly impressive. I've never used them before, but we do end up using one a little bit later on into this video. I just wanted to generally shout them out because it is honestly really, really cool stuff. The default Planet Zoo font is fine, but it's only one font. It's very limited. It's also huge. Even the small one is huge, and it's very casual. It looks almost like a Comic Sans. So if you want something a little bit more serious and smaller and more controllable, then just Google font on the, or search for font on the Planet Zoo Workshop and download anything by Ricey. Someone else did one as well, which I will be using later on. It's like a graffiti font, which is also very, very cool, and we'll be showcasing that later on. That's not by Ricey, though. It's by someone else, I believe. Anyways, so this is going to be our little ticket thing. Realising very quickly, I thought the ATMs kind of looked like ticket machines, so I figure we'll use those. Realised that you can't put the ATM, for reasons unbeknownst to science, you can't put the ATMs down on a non-path section. So we've had to use the little path without, you know, that doesn't change the texture. It's got those little black blobs, but there's really nothing we can do about that. We'll be covering those up a little bit later on. And here we're going to use a Ricey's font. We're going to make a little sign that says ticket machines or ticket station or something like that. Can't remember off the top of my head. We'll find out, and it's very exciting. God, it might not be ticket station or machine. It might be something else. Ticket collection? Ticket collection. Yes, there we go. Guessed it just in time. Yes, a ticket collection. Just a little thing. Yeah, a little thing. Helpful, hey? Yeah, really easy to use. Takes a little bit of time, but yeah, honestly, considering how long it must have took to build, it is incredible, and I plan to use it quite a lot. We'll be using the same font multiple times. I'm going to bring it in for signage throughout the Zoom for several places. Just kind of think it, hey, look at that. Isn't that cool? You're going to see it. I'm going to make it white. There you go. Look at that. So much better than the default font. It really is super impressive. Ricey, you're my favourite person in the world. Ricey? Is that your name? Ricey? Have I already butchered that? I may have done. I'm sorry. It's just cool. I'm really a big fan. It might be like my favourite set of mods out there. So putting like little cue markers in there, just using the same theme we do later on in the park, because that's, you know, kind of makes sense, right? You want to use the same materials, you want to use the same ideas multiple times. So just bringing those in, just so people can queue up in separate sections, sink them all down a little bit, they're way too high. There we go, nice and simple. Now, for something you've never seen before, yet more rocks. For reference, next video, I believe we're going to work on the entrance sign thing. We don't have anything that actually says the zoo name yet. I think as you emerge outside and you've got the giraffes on the left, you're going to see that on the right. I don't yet have the idea for what that's going to look like. We'll talk about that again later on. I'm looking for some inspo. I've got a idea, but it's based on my giant wire man. You'll see what I mean by that later on as well. Honestly, I just threw things at a wall for this one. I was inspired, but in a very non-specific way, if that makes sense. Like, I knew I wanted to build. I really loved this dome. I really wanted to put stuff in it. I really wanted to get some more grassland look to it and more plant life and more rocks and make it... The idea being, like, this is your first... I know it's only a train station, but it's also a zoo. And zoos, for me, I kind of sell them as theme parks a little bit by having very strong theming. This is your first entrance into the zoo, right? This is the first thing you see. So whilst maybe most train stations in the world don't have all this lush foliage and savanna grassland and stuff like that, we're trying to sell you on the entire zoo. You know, St Pancras Station in London doesn't have to sell you on London. You're here already. You're here for a reason. I'm trying to sell you on this zoo. I'm trying to make this zoo like a big, thematic, beautiful experience for you. And that goes to every single part of the entire thing. Also, my new favourite thing right there is elephant grass sunk really far into the longer grass that you used using the long grass tool. I just think it looks really cool. It gives a little bit of vivid colour to the grass without being overwhelming. I'm a big fan. Exit the platform. We need little signs like this just to make it look like a real place. Essentially, nothing too fancy there. I'm going to put a little arrow on there. Love myself a little arrow. There we go. Look at that bad boy. Or bad girl. No, could be a bad girl. Could be a bad boy. Could be a good girl. Could be a good boy. Could be a sentient ball of light. Could be identifies neither gender. Could do whatever the hell it wants. I'm not here to judge the arrow. The arrow can do what it likes with its life. Yeah, zoo this way. I think I've changed that. Do I delete that? I feel like I'm about to delete that and then bring it back later on. But it's neither here nor there. Anyways, so yeah, little signs and stuff like that. Just little beaded banner things, sticking some bead things around. I love Africa. I love Africa. I really want to go to Africa. Not just because of Planet Zoo. I've long wanted to go to Africa. But the thematicness... I'm going to stop saying thematic. The theming of the park just makes me so happy. Again, we had all these big blank space, big flat rocks. Let's bring in some elephants. Let's sell you on some of the animals that are going to be in the zoo. Get you excited for what you're going to see later on. That room is basically done, I believe, at this point in time. I think that's around about finished. We've got about 10 minutes left. I was AFKing here doing God knows what. This is the only problem with recording for such a long period. You know, nearly 3 hours. Every now and again, you need to do other things. You need to, you know, vacate urine or something. I don't know. I don't think I did, but it could be anything in the world. You never know. This right-hand space was one of my 2 problem spaces. Ironically, it was meant to be filled by a train station. That was kind of the big idea. This big blank space on the right-hand side was going to be filled by the train station or jeep station or whatever, and that would take away one of the problems. I then decided to make a bigger dome, like a separate dome, and therefore give myself yet another problem. So we've had to come up with something, and I decided, you know, just little shops. I didn't want it to be a big thing. I was thinking more like... less so the cafe you see at a train station or something like that, but more you go to a train station and you're walking past and there's a little stall selling coffee and pastries and sandwiches and something. And so it's like a one-person little shop. That was kind of more the idea. You know, we're going to have a big eating, sort of sitting food area inside, but at this point, the guests haven't actually entered the zoo proper. The ticket station is there. You actually haven't seen that. I worked on that myself since the last video. I'll show you that at the end of the video. But you go through, you enter the ticket, well, you pay at the ticket office, and you go into the park itself. That's why we don't also have a the entrance sign quite yet. That's why that's later on. That's when you get outside from the big dome. But the same applies to the food. You know, we don't want people stocking up on food now. We want people to get inside, get hungry, and eat at our, you know, picnic areas and our big restaurants and stuff like that. So that was my thinking, just some little shops. And also I had massive amounts of space to kill. I still do. I still do. But it was something. You'll see this is one of my problems. You see the walls of this building, they're just not very exciting. It's just a lot of mud. I do have a plan for that. Again, that's something I'll show you in a bit. Because I do need to visually be dragging the mouse around to show you properly. I do want to change the walls up a little bit. I really like this dome, but in comparison to the new dome, it looks a little bit dull, and I do juice. I do juice occasionally. I do want to make it a little bit more exciting if I can, and I've got some ideas about that. Again, playing with the light and the shadow and stuff like that. The time of day should be permanently set to midday in this park. That's one of the ideas we're rolling with. It's that play of light and shadow, and by keeping a consistent time of day, we can make it so that we can play with the shadows and they'll be predictable. We'll know what they look like because it's never going to change time of day. I also didn't realise till just that second that you can change the colour of the mud. It looks really, really cool. I really want to do like some big colourful section. I'm not going to do it in here because we've kind of established a tone in here already, but I do like the idea, and I do want to play around with that later on as well, and we definitely will. And there's more rocks. You've got these little dead areas. You've got to fill them with something, right? The only thing I think we're lacking so far is I want to get more of like how do you describe this? Like a ridge, like an edge. You know, the whole theme of this park is the edge of the world, essentially. I do have something very cool to tie into that, which you'll see in a moment. But I think it's very cool anyway. But in terms of the actual design, I don't think it's resembled it that much. The spheres, the idea behind the domes is that they represent the Earth, essentially. But in terms of like the edge aspect, that's not really there yet. That's something I want to lean into more as we go through the park. And also, again, that fantasy element that I mentioned, that's something we're developing a little bit later on in this video, but it's still something a little bit lacking and something I'd like to keep in mind as we develop our future exhibits. All that said, we do only have one animal so far, so I shouldn't be that worried. Anyways, so some shops. I have nothing to say about the shops. They're very simple, very small little mud huts with a thatched roof. Like I said, we're keeping these simple, nothing too complex. Just get in, get your ice cream and water. It's bloody hot out there, and then we'll get you into the park and you can get yourself a proper meal if you so choose. Same with a gift shop and stuff like that. I really want to do like a proper gift shop, but that's going to be on the other side. That's going to be actually at the park exit, which is the other side of the Jeep Dome. So that's going to be quite a while away, which is good because shop building is not my thing. It's not really what I enjoy. I've got to be honest. I'm much more a enclosure kind of guy. I'm learning. I'm working on it. I'm working on my hatred of big buildings and stuff like that. Or buildings in general. I do much prefer the enclosure stuff, but we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Sorry. I'm doing random ASMR or Planet Zoo whispering. But yeah, fairly simple. One thing I love about this is because it is casual in its building, we can kind of just put them in and fill the gaps with plants, fill the gaps with rocks, and it kind of just looks nice. You know, it kind of looks appropriate for the setting. I love it. I really do. It's so much less work than Blackrock in some ways, and yet so much more work than Blackrock in some ways. These videos are definitely a lot longer than some of the ones I was doing last time. I think I got rid of those, didn't I? Yeah, any second now I'm going to get rid of those. Little windows, pretend that real people work here and that I care about their real people, little pixel lives. I don't really. They're like Sims. I'm just here to drown them in the swimming pools, but a lot of the build is really just clicking random things in the Africa theme. Yes, so here we go. The Wire Man statue. So when I was growing up, my mum had a bit of an obsession with Africa. Our living room was very African themed. We had lots of masks and shields, and I don't know why that took me so long to say, masks and shields and stuff like that. And one thing I distinctly remember, I didn't really find a good image of it, to be honest, but one thing I distinctly remember were these black wire statues of African people with swords and shields, or well, spears and shields typically, or you know, cooking or just drumming or doing anything at all. And they were like made by tribes in Africa or something like that. She'd been a few times and she collected these Wire Man statues. I'm hoping someone out there watching, I know a lot of you have commented, you're from South Africa or you're from parts of Africa, and you've commented on my Afrikaan butchering and stuff like that. Hopefully this resonates at least a little bit with someone. But I decided I wanted to build one of these Wire Man statues, because for me, that was, when I think of Africa, this was one of the first things I thought about, because it was a big part of my childhood, was, you know, that living room, essentially. And because I saw these branches, I actually had this idea about a week ago. I saw those branches, these little twisted branches that we get in the Africa theme. And you put them together, it looks like wire. That was the idea, right? So we're going to do a giant version of him. And there he is, there's our first one. He doesn't have a name yet. We're going to have to think of one before the next video. But there is a story here. Now, at this point, this was just decoration. I needed something to fill the gap, and I thought he looked... Oops, sorry, I just punched something. I needed to fill the gap, and I thought he looked cool. That was really all this was. But I kind of started thinking, I think we can tie this in with the Edge of the Earth thing, and just like we did with Blackrock, develop a story as to why it's called that, and what the tale is, and what the myth is of the area, and stuff like that. And that's what we're going to do. So, there are 2 masks in the game that look like that one right there. There's 3 masks total. There's these 2 ones that are quite rough, made out of wood. They've got the sort of feathery, sort of grassy bits poking out the bottom, stuff like that. There's those 2, and there's a 3rd one which is more metal and noble. I think it's meant to be a lion. It's very dramatic. So, we're going to have this guy who's got a sword and shield, or a spear and shield, but I think sword and shield. I'm going to build him a better shield, don't worry. So he's got his sword and shield, and then we're going to have another guy who's got a spear, and he's going to have the other rough wooden mask, and these 2 are the protectors. These are the guards for the king, and the king is going to be the guy who has the 3rd mask, the big metal, shiny, you know, lion-looking mask, because that makes the most sense. Anyway, lion's the king of the jungle, even though lions predominantly live in not jungle, but I've never really understood that, but either way, there's his new shield. So these 2 are going to be, well, these 3 are going to be characters throughout the park. They're not going to pop up much, because I don't want to have to keep remaking them, basically, but I thought throughout the park, you're going to meet them, and we'll tell a little story, and then probably for the lion exhibit, we'll bring in the king as well. And the idea is that there's this realm, the edge of the Earth's edge as this realm was known, the Earth's edge, yes, that's what it's called, the Earth's edge as this realm was known, and the king was the proprietor of this realm. He was looking over this realm, and these 2 guys, whatever their names are, they don't have names yet, or this guy and this girl, I haven't decided yet, or this girl and the girl, again, no idea, were the king's protectors, and they guarded, it's kind of like Hades, or Cerberus, and the entrance to the underworld. You know, these guys are protecting the entrance to the Earth's edge, protecting this magical realm, which is where my architect, for some reason, true inspiration for the park, also decided he should look down and point down that way. I ended up tilting the shield. It looks a lot better, I think. I mean, it's a really cool idea. I was really happy with it. It kind of just popped into my head. I thought, you know what? That's the kind of thing I really, really enjoy. You see it with Jurassic World Evolution. I can't help it. I just want to tell a story. It doesn't matter if the story's utter nonsense. I just want a story. And we're done. We'll hop into game. I'll show you some of the stuff you probably didn't catch during that video. We'll talk a little bit more about our plans for the future. You know, both in Planet Zoo and you and me, romantically. I'll see you folks in a second. Right, welcome back. Which I don't really need to say, do I? Because, you know, it's been about 2 seconds for you guys. Anyways, so I'm going to catch you up on the things that you have missed since the last... Oh, look at that. People are loving it. I need donation boxes in here now that I think about it. People are loving it. Hey guys, who have we got here? We have Bakari and we have Amadi. They sound like they'd be a beautiful couple. Anyways, so I'll show you what has been done since last video and what we need to look at next. So, I have done a little ticket office kind of section. Inside needs a little bit of love. It's not more like a ticket office, but I like the signage and stuff like that. And a little staff-only entrance gate over here on the left-hand side. Just, I know, I like my themes. Themey. If we head on outside, this is a really cool little thing, a little detail. This was recommended by one of you in the comment section down below, so shout out to, I can't remember your name, so it's a terrible shout out, but shout out to you. Hopefully I've got this right, but because we are a South African zoo, we have an Afrikaans name. It's a cool idea to have both the English and the Afrikaans name for each animal at the entrance to each exhibit section. So this is the giraffe section. And you've got giraffes, and you've got camel paired. I don't know how the P-E-R-D is pronounced there. Camel. I know somebody will inevitably let me know. You guys have been actually really cool with the Afrikaans pronunciation. One of you even got your mother to like record it and sent it me on Twitter. That was really, really cool. I will reply to you, I promise. I apologize for that, but that was awesome. Big shout out to you as well. These shout outs are awful. Anyways, I thought that was a really cool detail. We're going to do that throughout the entire park. Each little exit entranceway, basically the bit where this path turns into this path, is going to have the English and the Afrikaans name. If we holla down here, all I've done is add a little shaded area over here. As someone mentioned, you should have shade on the side of the opaque glass, which makes a lot of sense, and it kind of looks a little bit more interesting now. Also, it's fairly smooth work, if I do say so myself, and you know, obviously just blends in with the rest of the park. This area, that obviously needs a little bit of love. I'm just going to build a very simple staff area there, I think, and eventually we'll have more stuff around here though, so that will look a little cooler. Also need to fill this with plant life. Right, moving on. I've also done a little bit more over here. Not much, just filled in these little bits here with some water and some elephant grass and some trees and stuff like that. So, what holds the future, Duff? Well, I'll show you this bit first. So there's a little shopping section. There's our toilets with a little toilet signs, a little info booth there. People are loving the info booth. Some ice cream, some water, just general little huts, as I said. I think they blend in fairly well. I think this line here is honestly, like, I was resistant to put more rocks and plants in, but I think that is what's going to go on here. I may put some fences in there, but probably not. I think we'll just do very low-key grass, plants, and rocks on this line, just to fill it in a little bit. I might even put some crossing points like there and stuff like that. There's our ticket collection up close a little slower. Don't know what on earth. Oh, okay. I have a ghost. That's fine. And here is the Jeep station, which I'm in love with. I'm not going to lie. I am a really big fan. I think it decidedly looks like a train station, Jeep station sort of thing, but it's got loads of little African touches. I think the way the domes blend together is really, really cool. And I also think, in particular, let me zoom out if I can. I don't know. I really like the wall. This is what I mean by saying the inside wall, because I put all these details in first, just these at the top and these and this down here. It just looks far more interesting. And that patterning on the roof, I can't take any responsibility for that. I didn't mean for that pattern to appear. I just covered it in some bloody wood and it happened to look amazing. But it does. When you put these domes together, you just get these incredible geometric patterns. That is genuinely, like, next level beautiful stuff, in my opinion. I think that is just incredible and has a fairly African feel, you know, in some ways. There it is from the top. You see how it blends in with the main dome. So, as I say, and this is the first thing I need a little bit of guidance for here, folks. As I say, the plan, so this is actually a exit right here, so people will come from down there, they'll drive in, that's meant to be, you know, the airport off in the wilderness down there, and they drive in and they get out and they go through the park. Now, as it happens, this is actually the exit, but that doesn't really matter, and the entrance is over here, so eventually this is going to open up and there will be a path attached, probably here. So, oh my god. The path will go from here and out there, and through here we'll have like an exit sort of area. That's all well and good. That all makes sense. My problem really is, I love this, is that over here, we have this. This is our entrance and our guest spawner. Now, the idea was to not need this gap anymore because, well, why would we? We've got this area over here. We don't need that gap. We don't need a magical hole where our people emerge from because we have a train station. This is a natural place for people to come from. The problem is, I don't know how to put the guest spawner in here. That's really the issue. Of course, we could put the guest spawner and the park entrance here on the path and just have the path coming out there. And that's actually what I did initially. That was my first thought. The problem is, the whole idea of this here is that it looks like the guests are emerging via the truck, via the Jeep tour, right? If we have that there, the park entrance and the guest spawner, then people are going to magically appear. They're just going to pop out of nowhere here and then walk forward into the park, which is not what I'm looking for. So I've got two ideas. The first is basically to... so we've got this gap here that I don't really have a plan for. I'd like to do something cool, but at the end of the day, like, I'm already building so much stuff. What I'm thinking is like a waiting room, quite a lot of glass in it, kind of like you'd see in a train station, some mud, some thatch, just using the materials we've been using so far. Have a waiting room, one for departures, one for arrivals. You sit here and maybe your train hasn't arrived yet, or maybe you're waiting for someone else to get into the zoo, something like that, and you can chill down there, and we'll have like a little cafe, we'll have some tables and some pretty lights and stuff like that. I was thinking in the arrivals, we hide the guest spawner and the entrance in there. We'd have a lot of people emerging from there, but that doesn't really matter. I don't think anyway. So lots of people would be walking out there, but it is what it is. And then this would still work later on. This isn't going to work until the end because we do need to do the other half of it. The track does need to be a complete loop to work, and we can't do that yet. But eventually this will be constantly going, and even if all our guests are spawning in there, this will still be running and it will still look like people are emerging from here either way. So the reality of where our guests come from doesn't matter because it will look correct. That's my first plan. My other is actually to just hop down here, add a station here, add the guest spawn. It's just not a much better plan. Yeah. We can't do this yet, again, because this needs to be a closed loop. But if we just make like... We'll cover this in rocks and trees and hill, and we'll just hide this whole back area anyway. Because I want this to look like it's heading off into the wilderness, when it's in reality not. If we just put a little building here with a guest spawner and a guest entrance, and have a station, so people will get onto the Jeep here, they'll go in, they'll get in, they'll go into the park, and when they want to leave, they'd actually have to get back on the Jeep. Wait, is that not the perfect idea? Wait, surely that's how we do it then, right? Guest entrance goes here, spawner goes here, they go on, they get on, they go chugga 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 chugga, they enter the park, they go do park things. If you want to leave, they get back on, they'll loop around there. It'll look like they disappear into the middle of nowhere, that's the idea, but in reality what they'll do is they'll loop back around here, and they'll get off, and more people will spawn and get on. Okay, that's what we'll do, never mind. Problem sorted. I still love some opinions and ideas from you folks at home, please do let me know, but that does seem to be a really good fix. I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's going to wait till the end, so for now I'll have to keep my weird little tunnel. So this little bit, again, this could be a waiting area. I'm not in love with the idea though. I'd like something I'm a little bit more inspired by. I could just fill it with rocks and stuff and build like a little display. I've already done that so much already, I can't help myself. So I'd maybe like to resist doing that as well, but that is definitely an option. I don't want another animal in here. A few people have suggested that. I appreciate all the suggestions, but we do already have the giraffes in here. This is, like I say, before you even enter the park, which is over here. So I don't want more animals in here. They can have a little glimpse of the giraffes for free. You're not getting 2 animals for free. It's not happening. So it won't be that. Any ideas for this little gap? That's it. And this little gap here, this little gap's annoying me. I think I might make this into like a little giraffe info display though. So that's fine. That's going to be filled with stuff. This gap is bugging the bejeeps out of me. So let me know in the comments down below what you think we should do. And then we're pretty much done inside the dome. And we can begin working on the outside. I'll talk about that guy in a second. So... yeah, okay, right, we'll talk about it now. Don't you look cool? I'm really happy with it. I had this idea, it was spawned from my childhood. Actually, honestly, the idea was spawned because of these sticks, that was it. I saw the sticks and I thought, oh, that looks kind of like wire. And, didn't there used to be these African wire statues in my living room growing up? And, couldn't I make those? And, I made one. What if there was 2 of them? What if they had a king? What if they protected this magical realm? And it just kind of ballooned from this... oh, I like these sticks, up to everything. I actually think it's super cool. It's huge and slightly terrifying, but he looks friendly, I think. He looks like a protector. I might do like a little signpost here telling you who he is, but what I also liked the idea was, what's going on here with the animals? Where are you going? What are you doing? What are you playing at? Vet surgery. Do I have to... I don't even... alright. I'm going to pause it. I'll set up a vet surgery in a minute. I also like the idea of you see this first one and you don't know who he is. You get no explanation whatsoever. And then you go outside. Plans here. You go outside. You can go see the giraffes on the left if you want. On the right, this is what we're going to build in the next video. That's going to be our entrance sign. This is where we're going to see the park name for the first time. It's going to say the Aarde Se Rand. The Aarde Se Rand. The Aarde Se Rand. Is it more like that? The Aarde Se Rand? The Aarde Se Rand? Something like that? The Aarde Se Rand. The Aarde Se Rand. The Aarde Se. It's like a S, isn't it? S-U-H. The Aarde Se Rand. S. The Aarde Se Rand. The Aarde Se Rand. I'm going to go with the Aarde Se Rand. Anyways, you're going to see that and we'll have an English name underneath it. I'm going to show you very quickly what we're going to use to build it, because this is actually a really cool blueprint. All my fonts are by Ricey, as I mentioned. Is it Ricey? Maybe not that one, I don't know, but most of them are anyway. If I just search for font, this will make my life easier. Yeah, Ricey. But this one over here, this is very cool. This is a graffiti font. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, blah, blah. That has this kind of tribal kind of look to it that I really like. So we're going to put the Aarde Se Rand in that font, and then we'll use like... one of these other ones for like the English translation underneath. I have no idea what it's going to look like beyond that. One of the ideas I like is bringing in the other character. So we've got... he's going to need a name. They're all going to need names. But we've got our sort of spear and shield guy. I think we're going to do like a long spear guy for the other one. So this one's got a shield. That one's got a long spear. Maybe no, we can't do 3 because there's only 2 masks. I think the king's going to be a bit of a drummer. I just want a drummer. But so we've got him. And then I think we'll bring in the other character here. We're gonna have him standing there with his spear above the park entrance sign. That's all I've got in ideas. I don't know what that's gonna look like yet. Usually I take the few days between Planet Zoo episodes to kind of come up with the next stupid idea I'm going to have, so that's kind of what I'm going to do. But it's going to say the Aarde Se Rand. The guy's going to be there, we'll build that riot statue, we're going to try and make this look kind of impressive. I kind of want you to walk out and barely know where to look. You know, this display on the left, maybe you'll catch a glimpse of a camel. There's lots going on over here, the Aarde Se Rand over there. And then I want to do a map/navigation bit, and one thing we need to do, and we'll do this in the next video, at the end of the next video, I'm going to show you the list of animals, and what we need to do is try and divide them into themes. We're not doing tropical, so scrap that, but I'd like to split the animals into little sections. Most zoos you go in and you've got like a big cat section, and you've got a Africa section, and you've got like a reptile section and stuff like that. You've got little areas, and I like to replicate that at least a little bit. I don't know if it's necessary, but I do think it makes it more like a real zoo, which is, at the end of the day, kind of what we're looking for. Oh, there's my giraffe sign. I forgot to mention that. There isn't really like a nice one of these for Africa, unfortunately. I'd love like an African-themed one of these. That's the only thing I'm missing, but maybe I can build my own. Maybe I can build my own. How would I do that? No, never mind. So, walk in, entrance sign on the right with the guy, and then you'll meet the king later on, and maybe we'll do all three of them together in like a big final display in like the central plaza or something like that. I don't know. I just love the idea. I want to lean in, and at some point I want to make the realm as well. Somebody has made like this underground area filled with glowing mushrooms and stuff like that. It is incredible. I don't want to do exactly that, but I do like the idea of being allowed passage by the king and you enter this realm. So maybe we're not at the Earth's edge here, we're like in the area above it, and basically this is where... So this idea of the Earth's edge, it's kind of like the journey to the centre of the Earth, essentially. And the people in this area, kind of like with Blackrock, you know, believed this myth for a long time and perpetuated this myth over generations. And, you know, came up with the tale of these the two guys and the king who were defending this mystical land. And the idea that eventually we get to actually enter that through the park and get to see what they envisioned it to be, and maybe it contains an animal or some description in there, whatever. I think that's pretty cool. I only just came up with that, but yeah, we'll lean into that as well. So lots of ideas, lots of exciting stuff, lots of gimmicky stuff in there, I acknowledge, but more than anything, it's going to look like a zoo. It's going to have zoo things. That's the most important. So, entrance, map bit with signs and stuff like that, and then the world is our oyster, ladies and gentlemen, and we can do whatever the bejeebus we like. Right, that's enough out of me. I've talked lots of words today. I'll see you lovely folks next time. Please do hit the like button if you're enjoying this playthrough. Feel free to answer some of the, just throw your ideas at me. I really do. I'm like a sponge. Maybe I don't use all of them because that would be insane, but every idea you guys throw at me kind of goes into my subconscious, and eventually we end up with stuff. And a lot of the stuff in here already came from you folks at home, so big shout out to all of you. Oh yes, one last thing, sorry. As I was saying, the walls of this are a little bit boring. I really want to play with shadow and light a little bit, and if we go look at our guy, he's kind of unfortunately cast in shadow right now, and he's not, he's a noble defender, he should be in the light. So what I was thinking is, if we can actually... Wait, which one is it? Is it this one? No. Wait, I'm getting this wrong. It's over here, so it's one of these, isn't it? Yeah. And that one. I like that idea a lot. I don't know what I would do there. I think just replacing that with glass and just having it as a window. I might even make it symmetrical on each side, just have the same cutout on all the sides. Just to throw down the light on this guy, because look at him. Like, he's now in the shadow around him, but he's this noble defender. He's all nicely lit up. So I'm considering that. I'm also considering, as you just saw there, getting rid of this wall. Like so, this would actually be a fairly simple job, except for this bit here where it crosses over. I'm honestly just considering replacing that with glass, just brightening the whole thing up a little bit, bringing in a little bit more light, and making the wall look a teeny tiny bit more interesting than it does right now, because at the moment it's a little bit on the boring side. I think we'd replace that with a slim piece of glass in there, and also bring in something along this ridge here, just to make that a bit more interesting. It would be a bit of work. This is the kind of thing you really should do when building the dome, but at the end of the day we didn't, so that's what I'm considering. I'd love your thoughts and opinions on that. I think that's the right thing to do though, because I do think this wall is a little bit... Yeah, that and that, and that. There's like 20 things I need your opinions on. I really should just make a list, shouldn't I? Anyways, now we're gonna go. Thank you for joining me one last time. Please do hit the like button if you're enjoying this series. Cheers much love as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.